Good afternoon, everybody. I normally say good morning because we normally run these sessions in the morning, but as we're coming through to the Easter break, all sounds a bit surreal at the moment with remote working and so forth, social isolation. But we're running this particular session in and around the latest directive come out from the FCA on operational and financial resilience. And it's very obviously important for us all to focus on this area at the moment, particularly with what's going on in unprecedented times that we are currently in with the pandemic situation. Just before I start this, just to give you an idea, those of you who are new to Model Office, is basically we are a RegTech, regulation technology audit platform that allows firms basically to empower their compliance, client centricity and sustainable professional practice whilst reducing time and costs associated. So really we're focused on the governance, the risk, compliance areas, which is very much at the heart and centre of this operational and financial resilience issue. So what I'm now going to do, when I can move slides, let me just go back. This happened last time, don't quite know why. There we go. So now we're going to move on to housekeeping. Hopefully the vast majority of you will be able to hear me. If they can't, those of you, we've sent a message online here. We've got a few messages through from this. I'm just going to reply to one. Effectively, from that point of view, anyone who wants to reply through that messaging chat system, ask questions as we go, but let me know if you've got any technical issues. I mean, we are recording this, so we will put it out on social media, and we'll send it to all of you anyway. So you're going to get a copy of this recording from that point of view. So you will be able to get access to this session and hopefully listen back to it at a later stage as well. So without further ado, really, what we want to do is focus on risk. And this particular slide is one of our kind of like staple slides around risk. And this, any of you recognize this ocean liner? This was July 1915 in Chicago Harbor. And effectively, the ship was called the SS Eastland, and what it did was it toppled over on itself and effectively killed more passengers than the Titanic killed a year before. And the reason why that is that this effectively, what the problem with the Eastland was that they overreacted to this particular new regulation that came in, and that basically meant that they made the ship top heavy by putting lots of lifeboats on top of the ship. Too heavy, toppled over, killed more passengers than the Titanic. Now, the issue with this is the salient lesson, if you like, with this is that it's all about unintended consequences of actions. And we're now living in unprecedented times with the COVID-19 virus. Those of you who are on the previous session that we ran on COVID and pandemic planning and risk management will know that I lived through SARS in the early noughties in Hong Kong. So it's a very similar situation that I find myself in and we find ourselves in at Model Office. But the key issue here is that, you know, what we don't want firms to do is take knee-jerk reactions. I mean, we've got to ensure that we plan carefully now with all that's going on to ensure that our businesses are maintained and tick over, and we can get through this in one piece. The FCA Business Plan that came out earlier this year, which I'm sure you've all read, but really this was all about understanding what the key areas of focus are from the FCA. And here, really, they were very much focused on risk front and foremost. You know, you obviously got the Brexit stuff, you've got the culture and governance, you've got financial crime, fair treating of customers, you've got the data issues and demographic change with obviously wealth transfer from the baby boomers downwards. So there's all sorts of stuff there that the FCA want you to focus on, but the big one top right is operational resilience. It's already in there. So really this was integral to protecting the UK financial system overall, institutions and consumers. But really what the FCA want from firms is to identify the importance of their business services and the impact of their business services, and set what we call, using risk speak, if you like, impact tolerances, so that it can remain within an agreed parameter within the businesses and with the FCA. The FCA produced a paper on this. You can see at the bottom, CP 1932, which a lot of this presentation is built around. Now, you could argue if you're not an enhanced senior management certification regime, you're not under the PRA, and you're not involved in market infrastructure, it doesn't apply to you. I would argue very strongly that it does, and there's some real golden nuggets in there, particularly going through a black swan event as we currently are at this moment in time, with this catchphrase new normal that we've got, and all the remote working that comes with this. So really it's all about mapping people, processes, technology that can deliver important business services. We'll talk about that a bit later. Test and demonstrate that you can respond and recover from disruptions within your business, whether that's communicating, engaging, advising your clients, in communicating and reacting with staff issues that are going on in the business, and operational and systems and control issues, and so forth. So really it's maintaining an internal and external communication strategy, which really is providing clear, timely and relevant communications to your staff, your consumers and all stakeholders involved in the business as we're going through this time of severe disruption. We always talk about at Model Office that we're now living in what we call a new normal, which is effectively a relationship economy where everything's related. Even if you don't like the term globalization, at the end of the day, if you're in business, you are interdependent. And what we've got really at the heart of this is three key issues in our industry, where at the center of everything is your firm and your professional status as a business. And that has a profound effect on the trust, obviously, of your clients and the consumers at large in the marketplace, but also has a big effect on regulatory directives, because obviously, as we've got issues coming through, pension mis-selling and all the stuff that now appears very trivial regarding the Woodford Fund, for example, and so forth, is that bad behaviour or poor behaviour or whatever in the marketplace will drive up regulatory directives. But the FCA focus is now very much in and around this area of organisational resilience and operational and financial resilience of firms. So really what we've got to do here is focus on you as a business to make sure that you've got everything in place you can possibly have, you've got all the right tools and techniques and strategy to ensure that you maintain the business, keep it ticking over. So as I say, you come through this in one piece. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. We've got regulatory, processes. You've got margins being squeezed by for example, the new FOS levies, where we're looking at an 83% increase overall. But the key issue with this is that we have to comply and we have to compete through this issue. So it's really looking at how we can do that and applying strategy to your business as you go forward. So this new normal phrase is very much with us now. And what we've got here, you can hopefully see, is a framework where we're talking about what is operational resilience and how can you ensure that your business is as resilient as possible going through this crisis. There are a number of issues here that we've got that you can refer to in the rule book. As you can see, principle of business 2.1.13R, which is all about management and control. It's a regulation, responsibility, effectiveness, risk management within your business. You've got the systems and controls rule book, where you've got reasonable care to establish, maintain systems and controls. And really what we've got to look at is how your business operates across key risk areas. So we've got to focus on your board composite, decision making, avoid groupthink. You've got to look at your business continuity and recovery planning, making sure that hits all the bases. You've got to look at your centralized investment proposition, your service proposition, the research and due diligence that goes around all that, areas around client suitability, attitude to risk, capacity for loss, risk registers, senior management control, conduct rule, breach registers, role responsibility mapping, we'll talk about in a minute. Outsourcing governance. Outsourcing is a great thing to do, but obviously you have to have the right governance around it right now. at all times. And then, things like complaints registers, conflict of interest policies, data security, remuneration policy, and best execution policy all still apply. We need to ensure that we're keeping our eye on it to ensure that we're not going to drop any balls through this process. There is a key, really, framework for this, which we're looking at from a holistic point of view here, which is looking at your resilience framework. And you may apply a tick box checklist. We're not a fan of tick box and checklist strategies at Model Office, but you might want to look at this and think, right, have we got this? And have we got it? And it's really in the right place, or do you need to do more work around it? Or if you haven't got it, we're not here to wrap people over the knuckles. It's right, okay, what do you need to do? So really, it's assessing the business holistically, looking at everything, how everything fits like a jigsaw, across these key issues that you can see on here to make sure that you are going to be in a good place to manage the business through the next few weeks, months. The FCA have good resources in and around risk management. You can see here that they look at risk management as the impact, the potential harm that can be caused, and the probability of likelihood of a particular issue or event occurring. Really, it's designed to identify the main risks to your business as they arise, measure the importance of that risk, mitigate the risks, monitor them, and monitor the progress of your risk management. And you can do that through Excel spreadsheets. You can also do it through technology. Our technology is designed to do that. What we would urge you to do is really move away from what we call swivel chair compliance, where firms are using disparate sources, lots of different resources, bring it all together in one place. So you've got good management information and good evidence-based practice. So the benefits are pretty much obvious, hopefully, to you on risk management. But really, these are the key areas that the FCA are very keen for you to have in place across your business. What we would say is the heart of this is your team. Now, if you're big enough and you've got a board, then it's looking at diversification of the board skill sets, technical competence of whoever's on the board or in the business, looking at clear, fair, not misleading communications across to your clients, but also to the staff. 4i sense check, very important to do. We'll talk about that when we talk about the 3 tiers, really, of lines of defence. But also, finally, looking at good understanding of aggregation of risk across your business, how it's managed, and how you are mitigating any risk going forward. The FCA have lots of good resources. They produced a great piece of resource a couple of years back now, which is still relevant to this, which looks at the 5 conduct risk questions that you should be asking in your business. And again, if you haven't, I'd recommend you do this. Take a look at it, map it out in a spreadsheet, use RegTech technology to help you do this. But what we're looking at really is identifying what are the risks in your business, empowering individuals' accountability, which is all SMCR stuff now, about managing those risks, who is responsible at the senior level, the most senior person. Mechanisms to improve risk management could be digital tools, training and development, training and competence programs, and challenge. Moving away, as I say, from groupthink, moving away from status quo bias, moving away from halo bias, and making sure that we're all challenging what's going on within the business in a constructive fashion. Strategic oversight, looking at, as I said, the board or the investment committees. I'm sure a lot of you have got investment committees, making sure they're set up in the right way, it's all minuted, it's all evidenced, and again, challenges brought to that table. And then also looking at assessing activities that could undermine good risk management and conduct. That could be remuneration, complaints procedures, and so forth. So really, that's a 5-tier strategy, which we would recommend every firm implement into their business. And we've seen really good progress with firms who've just taken that and inputted it into their business and monitored it on an ongoing basis. We've then got the issue regarding the fact that, you need to understand, the issues around resilience and risk. So what is it that could really hit you from a standpoint where you haven't actually seen the risk? And all these areas here are areas that the FCA have identified as potential key risks to resilience, operational, financial resilience with firms in the marketplace. Now, you might say, well, what's not there is a pandemic. And, at the end of the day, we would argue that there's been too little work at government level and at regulatory level about, really mapping out what would happen under the current conditions that we are now experiencing. But we are where we are. And as I say, this kind of short webinar is designed to give you some more hopefully planning points that you can apply to your business as you move forward. But the FCA are now proposing within their directives around these areas of operational resilience. It's really looking at, it will provide individual guidance as whether a firm's compliance with the new rules are adequate. And if necessary, it may require the firm to take necessary steps to address any failure to meet the requirements. And ultimately, if the FCA and the firm do not agree on this, then the FCA may use other tools, Section 166 and so forth. So it's serious stuff. And although you may say, well, it might not apply to us because we're not an enhanced firm, we're not a PRA firm and so forth, it's good practice. And if you put it in your business, put the right systems, right controls into your business, and we'll show you how we do it a bit later, then it's going to stand you only in good stead, particularly going through the current situation that we're in. Again, the FCA haven't really mapped out what's going on here regarding current experiences, but looking at this, you've got the key issues that can cause root causes, if you like, for operational resilience problems, and change management, third-party failure, software issues, cyber attacks, hardware, human error, process failure, capacity management. You could argue capacity management at the moment could be an issue, and external factors obviously an issue as well with what's going on at the moment. In our last presentation, we borrowed this slide from that, but I think it's important to focus back on it because the FCA are actually doing things at the moment, as well as relying on you as a business operating in their principles-based framework to do stuff. They're really looking at firms that have been set capital and liquidity buffers, and that they should use them. So if you've got capital resources, then ideally you should be using it to ensure that your business activities are safe as possible and continue as best as possible. Plan strategically ahead is an obvious one, but it's important to do that. Business continuity planning we've talked about, but that's important. Exit wind down plan, well, hopefully it's not going to happen to you. Businesses will fail, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, we've got to have that factored in. It's a regulatory requirement that you've got a wind down plan. So, at the end of the day, that has to be factored in. And really, it's also looking at the senior management certification regime, which can help. So the SMF 24 position for the bigger firms is all about operational resilience. And the SMF 1, which most of us will have, is their responsibility, for example, for key workers. Who are key workers? Well, you may be aware that schools are being asked to continue to provide care for a limited number of children whose parents are critical to the coronavirus response and cannot safely be cared for at home. So, that obviously includes NHS staff, but it also includes parents who work in financial services and are needed for the provision of essential services. So they're classed as key workers. So again, that's important to factor in into this. So firms really should be identifying the activities and services and operations, and if they're going to be interrupted, how they're going to deal with that. Now, the FCA are also bringing in flexible issues. So they're being flexible about, for example, you might have read the Dear CEO letter at the end of last month, and they're being flexible around the client identification issues. So that is good news. So you can use digital tools to do that. They're also moving away from wet signatures, which is amazing and fantastic. Hallelujah, they're doing that. So the fact that we can now use technology around client signatures is important as well. You've also got flexibility under this crazy rule on MiFID II, which is the 10% depreciation notification. That's great news too. And basically once you've identified and reported, it's mainly the portfolio managers, the DFMs who do this, but once they've reported, they don't really have to go back on that, and they can prove that they've reported. But the issue is that if you're doing that as an IFA, financial planner, advisor, wealth manager, then make sure you've evidenced it, make sure that the client's got it and evidence that, and then it's job done from that perspective. But it is a crazy rule, and we're hoping that the FCA will retire it. Moving on, so we've now got the business operational mapping, and this is really about understanding how you can build what we call a balanced scorecard across all business operations to ensure that you are very aware of what the risks are and how you're going to manage those risks and where your strengths, weaknesses are, and the opportunities and the threats are. The good old SWOT analysis from that point of view. And really it's about mapping, it's about boards and committees, internal communications we talked about. The SMCR can help with this, as we'll see in a minute. And then looking at, working smart in this current environment. Many of you will be working from home now. Some of you may have furloughed staff, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's obviously making sure that we are working in a way that keeps the business going and keeps our clients served in the right possible way. Outsourcing, we'll talk about the risks on that, but the positive around that in our industry is obviously power planners. It's the centralized investment proposition, portfolio management resources that we can access, non-exec directors, any of you who employ them, consultants, and also technology, as we'll see in a minute. This is where the SMCR is helping if you've gone down this route. So even if you're not an enhanced firm, we would still recommend that core firms and limited scope firms role map the positions in their business and the roles and responsibilities, because that it's actually part of your rule book. SIS 2.1 effectively says you need to do this anyway. Be aware of who holds what responsibilities and where the risks are. So from that point of view, a practical planning point is, if you haven't done it, do it, and know who does what, and know who, do you have the right roles, responsibilities, skill sets across the business, and if you haven't, then looking at outsourcing requirements and so forth. So then moving to outsourcing quite nicely. Well, outsourcing is an incredible resource, and we all outsource, in different ways to ensure that our businesses are sustainable. And again, it's important that we keep our eye on the ball, so it's clear ownership of the relationship. Now, the problem with outsourcing that we found over the last, I'd say, 12 months, particularly with the SMCR coming through and the work that we've done around this, is finger pointing. Well, we outsource to them, they do all our compliance work, they do all our HR stuff or whatever it is, they do all our performance management for our portfolios. Well, hang on a minute, the accountability is with you as an individual within your business. That's the game changer with the SMCR. So you can't point fingers. I always say to my children, if you point that finger at me any more times, look at what's going on. You've got 3 pointing back at you. So if you look at your pointed, if you point your finger on your hand. So at the end of the day, what we're looking at here is breaking this down into looking at how we can be accountable and keep this on track. So clear ownership and relationship, what the contract is it clear, set out the services to provide, including exit terms, continuity, contingency arrangements, look at the service level agreements, the KPIs, the key risk indicators, service review meetings, and periodic regular reviews. Ideally, you have a gatekeeper for this, so one individual within your business who's responsible for this. Then, you can map this out and make sure that it's reviewed at board meetings or reviewed on a regular basis by your team and so forth. But, one of the biggest risks for organizations is outsourcing, because if you're outsourcing to the wrong resource, if the risks aren't managed, if the relationship isn't managed, it's going to come back and bite you. So at the end of the day, we've got to ensure that this is covered. So no pointing fingers. Its governance is key to this, and that's what this is all about. Now we move on to technology, which is our world, and technology really is all about enabling you to do your jobs and you run your businesses in a more effective, efficient manner. So it's a great enabler platform, but it's not magic and it's not a silver bullet. I have been an IFA and a wealth manager, so I've been on your side of the fence for over a decade. And I was always skeptical on technology. But at the end of the day, if you do your research and due diligence in the right way, which is the crucial part of this, then you can apply the right technology because it's all there. And what you've got effectively is, got the cloud, obviously, which is a great resource to apply technology to because it's cheap. And making sure that it's obviously secure from a cybercrime perspective. But the key issue is that what we'd argue here is that you're bringing a joined up approach across all technologies you're applying to your business. That's a key requirement under your governance and research process. So whether that's looking at your client front end side of things, looking at cash flow modeling, the robo, or the managing the business itself, whether that's through practice management technology, reg tech, which is the risk and governance and compliance side of things, looking at all sorts of things like calendar management and so forth. So at the end of the day, you need to bring a joined up approach to this. Now, if you're interested in this particular area, we have produced with the industry, we've put together a fintech help group for the industry to take a look at features, benefits, and any unique offerings they're offering at the moment to you as a business. So, for example, on Model Office, you can see here, we're offering our financial stress test completely free for all firms, so they can log on, put in all their account details into the system like this, and once they've got all the detail in, it gives them a heat map dashboard and looks at how strong the business is from a financial cash flow perspective and where the risks are going forward at this moment in time, because obviously markets have tanked. That's going to have an effect for all those firms who are moving through and using ad valorem charging, for example, on an ongoing basis. So, if you want to access that paper, we will send out this landing page, if you like, to you all. All you do is put your details in and you'll get instant access to this paper. It should be ready just after Easter. Financial robustness is a key issue, obviously, with cash flow modeling, cash flow assessment, should I say, and, operational resilience and financial resilience of the business. It's under severe strain and stress, as we all know at the moment, across all industries, and it will affect our industry. So from that point of view, what we've got is an issue. I've just got a question here. We've got, thanks, Samantha, no problem. And what we will do here is effectively, you need to ideally take a look at what the governments are offering. If you are in a position where you feel that you're struggling financially as a business, and there's no shame in this at all. They're there to help. And what I would recommend certainly is that you've got a HMRC helpline. You've got issue, where tax and VAT is being pushed back, for example. So there's all sorts of help that you can look at there, mortgage repayment holidays of 3 months and so forth. But you've also got a great government resource there that you can take a look at, if not for yourself, but maybe for your corporate clients or your clients, to ensure that they've got access to all help and support processes through this. Now, when it comes down to your own financial robustness, as I said earlier and showed you with Model Office, you will, and most importantly, you need to assess your cash flow modeling and be granular on it. Get right down into the detail to understand what are the risks, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and what you need to do. And you can do that by Excel spreadsheets, or you can do that by technology, as you've just seen. Don't be afraid to ask for help across this process. What is the Optimum Model? Well, we've been researching the market now for well over 7 years, and in my days as a financial advisor and a wealth manager, what we would say is right at the heart of everything is financial planning, coaching, guidance. That's right front and center, and all the good work that you guys do in the marketplace. Then what we're looking at is, any technology that can come around this, whether you are dealing with, hopefully you're segmenting your clients, and some of your clients need help in and around, getting advice, particularly the new millennials and those entering the workforce who need help and support. Obviously robo advice or, some form of streamlined advice can help with that. But then you've got looking at your research and diligence across your investment management services, and then the auxiliary services, banking, tax, legal, professional services, will planning, lasting power of attorneys and so forth is very important. And then finally, but not least, is looking at the outside layer, if you like, looking at all the support services that are available for you, outsourcing around governance, risk, compliance, and reg tech can play a big part of that. Just an example for you, one of our clients who ran through this process with us a couple of years back now, that was their original kind of like capital value, we called it, of their business, looked at their turnover, looked at the variable fixed cost EBITDA ratio, and we got them independently valued, and they had a PE ratio of 5 times, which gave them a value of around about 7 mil from this point of view. And then obviously when they streamlined the business and they put all the practices that we're talking about today in the business around operational resilience and financial resilience, that then helped them save some money on the variable costs. Fixed costs went up slightly, but at the end of the day, their turnover went up and their PE ratio went up and their value as a business went up. Now they had they're still going, they don't want to sell, but it gave them the confidence to know that they could take on more staff, for example. In this world right now, it gives us the confidence that we know that we're going to get through this and we're going to be able to serve our clients on an ongoing basis to make sure they're also going to get through this, because it's difficult times for all at the moment. And I'll move on to the clients here. This is a slide that we put up on our last one, because this, relational risk is a big one. What we don't want to do is lose clients or lose faith or lose trust or lose confidence here. So the key issues with this is that what we're focused on here is looking at the consequences and the opportunities of where we currently are. And obviously the consequences are the consequences. There's not much we can do. That's not in our control to a certain degree. But what we've got really on the opportunity side is what we can do is manage that relational risk. And the relational risk is really all the good work that you do anyway, which is going down, look at the iceberg, taking a deep dive into, you know, what empowers clients' thinking, their behaviors, their decision making and so forth, making sure they're staying in their seats, they're not jumping around, they're not making knee-jerk reactions. So it's the value of what you do, diversification, quality, value-driven portfolios, as we used to call it during my days in wealth management, looking at professional services that can add value, outsourcing, and looking at protection as well, and offering them this reassurance. I mean, that's the key to this, to ensure that clients are going to be in a good space. And we also talk a lot about product governance and prod and, you know, client segmentation. But it's a really good strategy to put in place at these moments in time to know what your client needs are and what their communication needs are. So this just looks at a group of clients that we've kind of mapped across a particular group of IFAs and wealth managers, for example. And then what we've done is we've given them a behavior based on what they do, what their needs are, self-directed, you know, take their own financial decisions and so forth, and then what their communications are. We tend to find that a lot of clients are delegators, they're bored, they haven't got the time, they want others to take the decision for you, which is obviously, you know, where you play a great important part from that point of view. But it's important to look at this because then we can actually tailor how we engage with them, particularly through this moment in time. So you might get some people who are avoiding now, they're neglecting their finances. So really it's about simple, clear messages about your value and what you can offer going forward. Really moving on to the final areas of this presentation, we've got regulatory risk. Well, you know, what are the regulatory risks? In more ways than one, you know, business continuity is a big one. You need to take a look at your business continuity plans, look at how they work, what they do, making sure that they are aligned with all the regulatory requirements, looking and ensuring that, you know, you've got the fact that you've got an eye on the vulnerability of your clients and also your staff members, making sure they're covered. I'm sure you have, and who the senior managers are responsible to manage the business continuity and risks. So it's all about your accountability, but also focused on client services and advice, acting fairly, honestly, professionally in your client's best interest. You do that. I know I don't have to mention that to you, but you know, it's important that firms are aware of what the regulator are going to be using as benchmarks through this time. Communications are fair, not misleading, and clear, segmented on their needs, as we talked about. Access to cash is going to be very important, and obviously complaints. And you know, unfortunately, pointing fingers, clients can do that, and if we're getting complaints, that they're dealt with accordingly. So really, it's managing that financial resilience and liquidity, and if you've got any issues, reporting it immediately to the FCA. So lines of defence, I mentioned this earlier on. Well, what we operate, you know, in the governance, risk, compliance areas is really looking at 3 lines of defence. The first line of defence, accountability, that's you, that's your firm. You know, the firm's management controls, the management information, the data, the quality of that data, looking at accountability, operation manual, policies, procedures, systems, controls. If you're using practice management solutions, how that can help. If you're not using spreadsheets, does everybody understand it? Is everybody on the same page? Also training and competence, making sure everybody is aligned. Yes, a copy of these slides will be available, so no problem, we'll make them available. Just have another question in there. Thanks for your questions. And then the second line of defence is looking at financial control, validation against firm data, pre-approval checking of high-risk areas and risk-based checking, looking at desk-based operational monitoring. You know, it doesn't matter how small you are as a business, you can actually apply this into your business. So 4i Sense Check is using third parties to help you ensure that you've got everything aligned, and if you haven't, what needs to be done and what resources are available to you. And then the final area is independence assurance, is where we play a part, technology plays a part, RegTech can play a part, which is enhancing audits, which is ensuring that the governance, the risk and compliance areas are developed, building that holistic approach I've talked about, balanced scorecard approach, how everything fits together like a jigsaw in your business, providing heat maps so you understand, you know, where are the key areas, what you need to do, providing an automated action plan, action tracker we call it, so you make sure that you focus on the key issues first and foremost. You allocate accountability automatically. You get calendar push notifications, so it all goes into your calendar. So you build what we call a compliance diary. So again, you're getting all these alerts, so you know what you need to be doing. So you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to miss a trick, and you've got those lines of defense sorted. So really looking at the final end of this presentation, then we've got the key issue regarding, well, what do you need to do? You know, you might say, well, so what? That's all good stuff, but how do I do this? What do I need to do next? Well, looking at certainly, you know, 5 areas here. Plan out, you know, what you need to be looking at regarding operational financial resilience issues, if you haven't done it already. Looking at diagnostic strategy, research and diligence around technology, around your tools and techniques you're using, your risk management strategies in your business at the moment. Prioritize it, scope out a project plan, plan it out. It's very important to do that. Looking at preparation, your policies and procedures, where you are, benchmark it against the rules, making sure you're up to speed on that. Any gap analysis can be done through technology or, you know, manually. Remediation, delivery, which is all about really supplier engagement and checkpoints, and then moving through to procurement, intervening in the ongoing process and new processes set up. If you need to obviously go in and buy more resource into the business, technology can be an example there. And then ongoing compliance and assurance needs to be done, so you need to keep going through this process on an ongoing basis. And really, it's all about asking the right questions, you know, across the key areas at the top, which is the regulation, the risks, the revenues, the reputation of your business, brand, and retention of clients and staff. And you need to be asking yourself all these questions and more to understand, you know, where you currently are from a, you know, an operational resilience and financial resilience point of view. Where are these risks? Where are the resources? Where are the tools? And you might find that you've already got some tools and techniques and strategy in your business that you can leverage at this moment in time that you may have not, you know, looked at before. So that's something that would be worthwhile rechecking from that point of view. So that's important as these risks come through, and asking yourselves the right questions on an ongoing basis from a strategic point of view. So finally, just finishing on time, you know, stay safe out there. If you want more information on Model Office and how we can help, please email us on info@model-office.co.uk. We're offering a free trial through this time of our software, so you can have a look at how the governance, risk, compliance elements work, and how it can help make sure that you've got a very robust and resilient business operating model, that your clients are being served correctly, that your regulators are getting the right information, and that you are getting the right information, so that you can manage the business and have the confidence that you are going to get through this time that we're in. So thank you for your time, very much appreciated. We'll get this out to you very shortly. You will have copies of the slides as well, and if you want a copy of that paper that I showed, which will be ready after Easter, again, we'll send out information on that, so you can just let us know. Have a great Easter. Try and enjoy the weather in your back gardens or wherever, if you can, and stay safe out there. All the best.